Hi, this is Kevin Osborne from baldwisdom.com. In the last video, we saw a fun way to do a really quick print by doing your name in Inkscape. And I presented this technique to a group of librarians at the Newton Free Library. And I also showed them a few things that I did with other shapes in addition to letters. And they were very creative, and they came up with some new things that I thought I'd show you here. The first one I'm going to show you is John Walsh, who's a reference librarian at the Newton Free Library, decided he wanted a gear badge with his name in it. I'm actually going to make it a GearHead badge. I'll use head, so it's not less personalized, but you can do whatever you want with it. You can put your name on it or any message you want. Okay. So Inkscape has. First, let's set up our Inkscape document so that it has the right dimensions. So we want to measure things in millimeters, and just for good practice, I'm going to make this 200 by 200, or whatever the size of your bed is on your 3D printer. And now I'm going to go to the extensions, and it's in render, and it's gear, and it's 24 teeth, circular pitch. So you can change these. You can do a live preview. If you want, you can see it up there. It's up. It did it way up there. But we can change the pitch to something like 5, and that makes it much smaller gear. So let's put it back to 20. That's a pretty good size, I think, and we can resize it if we want. And the pressure angle, I think that's the roundness of the gears. So let's see, we can do that, like say 30, and click off, and see, it makes it steeper. If we make it 10, I think it makes it more square. I think more square is good. Let's actually make it kind of 5. Let's do a very small rounding, okay? And then we're going to say apply, and then we're going to take this object, and we're going to move it down here close to 0, 0. Now, this is about 50 millimeters, which is, I think that's probably okay. We'll see how big that turns out. We might want to make it a little smaller. But let's take some text now, and let's just type something. I'm using Sergo UI. We probably want it a little smaller, but you can also resize the text after we're done here. But let's make it half the size. Let's make it 36 point, and we'll say head. Oops, I don't know what happened there. Head. Okay, and then we're going to want to take this, and we're going to place it inside of our gear. And we also want to make a circle here, but to hang this from, like a chain or something like that. So, but instead of using a circle, which we're going to have to convert to a polygon, let's just start with a polygon, and we'll say we want like 20 corners, and we'll just start that here. Well, it's doing a star. We want to change it to polygon. There we go. That looks like a nice circle. Oops. Now we want to go back to here, and we'll move it into the right place. You can also use the align and distribute functions. You can center everything. So for example, we can click on all these things, and then we can say object, align and distribute. And we're going to make them all centered on the vertical axis. And then this one, this particular, I don't think it wants to be particularly more centered than that. So I think that's okay. All right, so now let's just make sure that we convert everything to path, object to path, and then when we want to go into the letters, let's zoom up on them a little bit. Not that much, but there we go. All right, now we're going to click Path Edit and Shift Select all these letters, and then we're going to add some more points to them to make them more rounded. We have to select the points first. Let's add some more points. and then convert them to line segments. And let's just make sure that this guy is the same. Let's make sure that he's all line segments, and that's round enough for our hole, so that's okay. So we'll just, oops, we need to select them again. And that, like that. And I think we're good to go. Let's zoom out a little bit just to make sure we're good. Let's select on this guy. Make sure he's all line segments. Oops, we need to select them again. I always forget to do that. You have to make sure that you select all the points, not just the object. And ba-bum, doo-doo, and then here we go. There we go. All right, so we're all good to go. Now we're going to call this a GearHead. Save, and then we're going to make it a DXF file as before. I'm putting this in the 3D printing directory here, and we'll call it GearHead. And we want to make sure that the base unit's millimeters. I had a problem before where it was translating between millimeters and pixels, and it caused the thing to be giant when it translated the dimensions when at some point in the import changed. So, all right, so now we're going to go to OpenSCAD, and we're going to say linear extrude, and we're going to say height equals 2 millimeters. And we're going to say import GearHead. Oops, I need quotes around that. Okay, and then now remember you have to save this file in the same folder before we actually execute it. So we're going to say save, and we'll go to our 3D printing directory, and we'll call it the same name. It doesn't have to be, but you could call it something else. But GearHead dot, it'll save it as the SCAD. Okay, now we should be able to render this, and that's rendered now, but it's not capable of becoming a 3D printable file until we do F6. And now we can now export it as an STL, and it takes the default file name of GearHead. Okay, it's exported. Okay, so now we're going to load it in our 3D printing software. I'm loading it into Cura, which I use to drive my Ultimaker or my printer bot. But you could load this into MakerGear or anything else. In fact, that's what we did at the library, is we used MakerGear. First we need to load our file. You can load it from here, and it was GearHead. Okay, you can see how bad a typist I am. And then I've put settings that are pretty quick, so I use a pretty high layer height. So like the layers are going to be pretty thick, but you're not going to really notice it on a flat object like this. And the idea here is it's something you can print really quickly. And then fill density, if we make it 20%, it'll take like 5 minutes. If we make it solid, it'll take 8 minutes. So I'm going to try it at 20% and see how that goes. And then you'll load it onto your card or drive to the printer directly, depending on what your software does, and then we're good to go. I'll be back in a few minutes to show you the results.
The thing I didn't take into account was the fact that the insides of the letters are little islands and they're going to fall right out, but I think it'll still look okay. You can also take the text and emboss it, but that would require making 2 separate objects and importing them into OpenSCAD, and that'll be for a future video.
Well, it's not exactly how I expected it, and there's another lesson for you in terms of checking with your G-code visualizer, if your software has that, what it's going to do. With the 20% fill, it seemed like it didn't actually fill up the top at all, so that might be a bug in the slicer for Cura. But anyway, I think it still looks kind of cool, and you can play around with the settings, and it'll still print no matter what you want to do. So this is a very easy way to make really cool objects in a very short period of time.